In today's video, we're going to be going over all the versions of Mickey Mouse that have popped up in Friday Night Funkin' so far and their backstories. A quick spoiler, most of them are going to be pretty sad. Now, I think it's only fitting that we go ahead and we start with Mouse AVI because he's probably the most popular version of Mickey to pop up in Friday Night Funkin' and he's also the most depressing. Now, technically, we have 3 different versions of Mouse AVI to talk about and we're going to start with the original first. So the original Mouse AVI is from a popular creepypasta where Mickey is in black and white and he's actually walking down the street looking very sad. The reason that this version of Mickey looks so sad is because his wife Minnie actually cheated on him, and to make matters even worse, he decided to cheat on him with his worst enemy, who is Pete. And if that wasn't bad enough, Donald and Goofy both get into a car accident and they are not able to survive their injuries. Pluto dies of old age. The one good thing in all this though is that he does still have his half-brother Oswald, who does try to help him, but he and Mickey end up getting into a very bad argument, and Oswald, trying to get him out of his slump, says some very harsh words, gives him a lot of tough love, and eventually they end up having a falling out where Oswald leaves and never comes back. The only thing Mickey has left is his career, so he tries his best to put on a fake smile for Walt Disney and also his horde of kid fans, but trying to continuously put on this facade ends up making him go a little bit insane. And one day he can't take this pain anymore, so he ends up going and buying what's called a insta-kill drug because he doesn't want to be on this planet any longer. And this is why he has the nickname Unalive Yourself Mouse. Now, the next version of Mickey we're going to talk about is the Wednesday Infidelity Mickey, and a lot of people think that Mouse AVI and Wednesday Infidelity are the same character, but they're actually not. Infidelity Mouse was highly influenced by Mouse AVI, but he also took a lot of inspiration from the old newspaper clippings, Mr. Slickers and the Egg Robbers, and this is what makes Infidelity Mouse's story just a little bit different. While Minnie cheats on Mouse AVI with his mortal enemy Pete, the Minnie in the Infidelity Mouse mod doesn't actually cheat, but she does end up flirting with Mr. Slickers, and eventually they run off together and we assume they become a couple. So while the outcome is still terrible for Mickey, it's not quite as bad as the Mouse AVI story. But with that being said, everything else that happened stayed the same. So Donald and Goofy are still dead, Pluto is still dead, he still loses all his friends and his brother Oswald. But while Mouse AVI tried to take his own life, Infidelity Mouse instead turns to drugs. And while he takes these drugs because he thinks it will dull his pain, what it actually ends up doing is just making him lose his mind. Now, one thing that is notable about the Infidelity mod though is at the end of it, before Boyfriend goes into the portal, we do see Mickey holding a pistol to his head, which could mean that he is still trying to unalive himself. And this will lead us right into our next Mickey, which is going to be Soft Mickey. And just a fair warning for anybody who thinks Soft Mickey is going to have it any easier than the other ones, he's definitely not. Soft Mickey goes through just as much trauma as the other Mickeys that I've talked about, except that he's actually able to be in touch with his feelings. What I mean by this is that he doesn't try to dull his emotions by taking drugs, and like the other Mickey, he doesn't try to go get an insta-kill drug immediately. He continues working for Walt Disney and trying to provide entertainment for his fans, but as I said, he wasn't able to keep himself from crying and showing those emotions. And of course, Walt Disney didn't want to hear any of that. He just wanted Mickey to get on stage and perform and give the fans what they wanted. And I think that this is what causes Soft Mickey to want to take his own life. And the only reason that he is not successful with this is because Soft Boyfriend and Soft Pico actually hear him crying backstage and they come to check on him and they are legitimately concerned about his safety. Soft Mickey is able to see that there are people in the world that still actually care about him and are willing to stop and make sure that he is okay. And this is why we see Soft Mickey burst into tears during the mod and why he doesn't end up taking his own life. Now, the next version of Mickey that we're going to talk about is going to just be called Mouse, and he is basically an experiment that was designed to look like Mickey Mouse and realistically kind of does. Now, what's interesting about this version of Mickey is that he is the most successful out of all the experiments that were made. The only issue that he has though is that he is super violent and aggressive. Boyfriend and girlfriend come into contact with this version of Mickey when girlfriend buys a Mickey Mouse cassette from a guy selling them on the street. And when she puts this cassette into the TV, it actually teleports them to this Mickey Mouse clubhouse, where they see this version of Mickey who seems to be very friendly at first, but as always in Friday Night Funkin', he turns out to be completely insane. In the Versus Mouse mod, we also get to see the Mickey Mouse version just called Experiment, and this is basically all the scrapped versions of Mickey that just didn't make it. And it basically acts as a guard for this clubhouse and attacks Boyfriend once he actually escapes from Mouse. A fun fact about Experiment is that a lot of people think that Mouse and Experiment are the same entity, and technically when the mod first came out or was being designed, they were supposed to be the same entity. But since in the lore there were so many scrapped versions of the experimental Mickey, it made sense that one of them could still be somewhat functional and count as a guard. Now, a version of Mickey that a lot of people don't know about in Friday Night Funkin' is the Versus Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Mickey, and this is where you are basically rapping against a Mickey Mouse plush doll, and it is definitely one of the weirder Mickey Mouse mods out there. A fun fact about this character is that it's actually based off a real life plushie. It's the Disney Mickey Mouse and Friends Mickey Mouse medium 17-inch plush doll, and you can usually get it from like Target, and you can probably find it on eBay. Next on our list is probably going to be one of the more popular knockoff versions of Mickey Mouse, and that's going to be Monkey, which is basically like a parody slash dumb version of Mickey Mouse. And Monkey was created by Senor Palo, which is the same person that created the Spooky Boys. And just like Mouse ABI, Monkey was married to a mouse named Momi, which is supposed to be the parody version of Minnie Mouse, who also ended up leaving him. But unlike Minnie, she doesn't actually cheat on Monkey. I think she leaves him because he's described as being a coward, he's not very smart, he's definitely violent, especially when he panics, and he used to torture her all the time, so he wasn't a very good partner. But with that being said, Monkey did have a few examples where he actually did some good. A good showing of this would be when he actually saves Christmas from Krampus. It shows us that Monkey isn't necessarily all bad. The next Mickey that we need to talk about is going to be the photo negative Mickey, and he is originally from a creepypasta called Abandoned by Disney, and it has an interesting backstory. It basically talks about how Disney once made a resort called Mowgli's Palace, and they did this in North Carolina on the Emerald Isles. The resort obviously took a lot of inspiration from the Jungle Book, and the foliage around the place kind of reaffirmed that. But this resort never really had a chance to take off because a lot of people in North Carolina disapproved of them even trying to make the resort in the first place. Many people in North Carolina didn't like the idea of this corporation taking over the Emerald Isles or their land in general. But even though people were obviously opposed to this, Disney went ahead and built the resort anyway. But it didn't stay open for very long. The entire resort was just completely shut down suddenly, and nobody could really find any information as to why, because the company wasn't giving out any details and the locals wouldn't talk about it at all either. But of course, our nosy protagonist in the creepypasta would not let this idea die, and he managed to hunt down exactly where this resort was and went out there to record any clues that might have been left. Now, our protagonist finds exactly what you would expect, considering that the park had been closed down for years. It was in disarray, a bunch of foliage had grown up around the place, and it looked like it had been pretty much looted. But that is not the only thing he found. When he walks into a room, he actually sees a bunch of what he thinks are just mascot costumes. But he realizes that he's in trouble when these mascots actually stand up. Our protagonist doesn't know if these things are demons, zombies, or just animatronics that have gone awry, but he knows that he's in trouble and he needs to get out of there. And that creepypasta is how we got the game called Five Nights at Treasure Island, which was obviously based strongly off Five Nights at Freddy's, just that it deals with an abandoned Disney resort where evil Disney characters lurk around, instead of just animatronics. Now, a couple of interesting facts about Photo Negative Mickey is that in the creepypasta that he's from, he could actually take off his head and start spewing out this yellow puke. And for some reason, even to this day, people still think that that puke is actually blood. Check out this video on the screen here if you want to learn about all the characters corrupted in the Pibby mod. Thanks for watching. This is Orseofkorse. Peace, peace.